Say one.
No.
Now?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Yes,
Folks, welcome to Mid-City
How y'all doing?
New Orleans. Joined today by a shaman, a beautiful cat, and a dear friend of the Jake Feinberg show, Johnny Vidacovich. Welcome.
Thanks, man. Thanks for coming over.
Thanks for having me.
Uh-huh.
Can you talk to the audience about, have you played on psychedelics before, specifically LSD, and how did that change the physics and the sonic nature of the music if you did?
Who?
You. Did you play on LSD?
Ah, not that I can remember. No.
Never.
No.
Can you talk about the train tracks that you see when you're up on stage in the visual stuff? Because that stuff strikes me as psychedelic. I mean, I just assume.
Yeah. Well, the first time I experienced it, I was very young, and it was a psychedelic, but then in my I guess in my latter 40s or my middle 40s, I didn't, it was something real, and what it was is, here I am.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, for me to see myself as part of, the other musician playing, the music, the spirit of the music that everybody's projecting and playing, then it's really hip. You've heard this to be able to rise up above and look down and see yourself as part of the pie, part of the machinery, the gear that you are, that makes the clock tell time, or makes the music be what the whole music is, not what each individual virtuoso piece, oh, it's beautiful to take it apart. Oh, that's such a beautiful gear. Oh, that's such a beautiful spring. But at the bottom line is when you can look at it that very coldly and mechanically and industrial, or you can look at it as something very, magical and spiritual floating above. But literally, I think that the several times that I experienced it in my normal state,
Mm-hmm.
Those times it's just that it wasn't so much. I happened to be playing great music, having a good time, feeling good, playing with my colleagues, and there was a time, maybe once or twice, when it was not, it might have been a dumb gig, but nevertheless, something felt good about the collectiveness of the music. And I think at that point, when my mind wandered, away from my ego and self and controlling nature of the music, that becomes habitual in learning how to play music. It's a bad habit, to try to control it. After you learn how to play it, I think you should, let the reins go a little bit. After you learn how to do the stuff, let the reins go. But anyway, let's get back to the point.
Let the reins go,
Back to the
man.
point. Yeah, I took a left. Back to the point.
Good. No,
The
it's all right.
tracks that lead above you to the astral plane, or the upper plane, or up above, or the top of the dome, however you want to call it, my brother, heaven. There's so many words for what I'm talking about. I don't know how. There's many books on how to do this, and I have read some.
Yeah, but you write your own book, man.
As we live each day, I think we jot down a few lines or paragraphs. Some people put down a chapter.
Singular.
Some days are chapters. If I wrote a book, it wouldn't be 10 pages in a chapter. Because, one chapter might be kind of blank, and one might ramble on for about 15, 25 pages. So, my book would definitely be a little bit, it wouldn't be AABA,
When you are on the astral plane musically, you start to see. Do you start to have synesthesia? Do you see things in watercolor, or is that?
I see things pastel.
Can you
pastel.
Can you go deep on that?
Pastel.
You start seeing color off musicians or heat waves or.
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yes. One time I saw a guy catch on fire while we were listening to music and having fun. And Larry Coryell was playing a guitar solo on a tune off the record Gary Burton's record, The Duster. It was 1970.
The Duster.
Yeah, and the time of this event was a Sunday afternoon, about 6 o'clock in winter, in 73 or 4. I'm not sure, but anyway, he was telling me about a guy who took drugs and thought that he was going to catch on fire. And as I'm listening to the guitar solo is so perfect for what he's telling me that I'm looking at him, and I'm just in the right kind of, frame of mind, between, relaxation and, floating. I was floating, and man, Alboleto caught on fire, man. I said I'm watching, but I knew I was wigging. So I just kind of just waited. Just listened to every word he said and listened to every note Larry Coryell was playing on this tune called Ballad. No, Sing Me Softly of the Blues. I think.
The Duster.
On the Duster with Roy Haynes playing drums and Steve Swallow and Larry Coryell. Yes, one of the best records in my life. Yes, without a doubt. LP. It's a phenomenal record. I think all new cats should listen to it because that was new at that time, given the year, and it changed the way I approached the drums and played.
How?
Linear, in a linear way.
Well, what was Coryell?
Roy Haynes was playing.
Was Coryell the first fusion cat?
Huh?
Was the Coryell the first fusion electric player?
The first electric.
You
player?
said the
No.
music of that time influenced your drumming. So what was the music of that time that was so progressive?
People were listening to, I guess, Hendrix had done Axis Bold as Love. This is 4 years later. So it would be like right at the end of the after the Vietnam War.
Right.
That music, what was I listening to jazz wise?
Well, I just think
I was listening to everything, bro, because the lady I lived with, Angèle Trosclair, and I lived together, and she was studying classical opera, singing jazz tunes at night, and same thing. I was studying classical percussion, and she was playing funk drums or jazz drums at night, whatever the gig was. You know, at that time, I think, I was working 6 nights. I might have been working 6 nights. Yes, I was working 6 nights a week at the Playboy Club.
At the Playboy
Club, I was the house drummer. Played shows. Played with a great jazz quartet with older men that were 20 years my senior and 10, 15, 20 years my senior, and they taught me everything about life and about how to play music. And be cool, kid, play time.
Can I ask you a question? How old were you at that time?
At that time, I was 21.
So that you were a man already. Because when Stan Getz went on the road with Tea Gardens Band, he was in 9th grade and they tortured him.
I was learning to be a man. And I was very good at taking instruction. I learned that in high school. Yeah. Listen up, kid.
This is what I want you to free associate on, and I need you to take as much time as you need. Johnny Vidacovich treats all beats equal. Go.
Absolutely, but the 4th beat sure is fat. The fattest is the 4th beat. But, so maybe, I don't know if I try to treat them all equal, but it seems to be the 4th beat is a fat girl. Love me some 4th beat.
This is just something that's an unconscious part of your playing.
Let me answer this.
All right. Here at the Vidacovich
What's up,
resident here in Mid-City. It's a tremendous record collection here. A lot of amazing vinyl that I love dearly. The great James Booker. Spent a long time in Angola. And it's a beautiful day. It's beautiful to be here.
Yeah.
James Singleton, Vidacovich.
All right. Okay. Bye-bye. Okay. The guy filled up a tire and she's on her way home.
She doing all right?
So far, so good.
Say hi to Deborah. Hope she
Yeah.
gets home safe.
New flat tire.
Can you just talk about playing in one though? Playing that style that you don't necessarily even people tell you that you treat all beats equal? It just makes you who you are.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I assume that's what, when you asked me that, I was going to tell you who I was, But if I'm playing, the music dictates what to play, and the music also dictates what feeling goes with it. Now, if you can capture both, then chances are you're going to do a good job at it. At getting the music to sound good, the band to sound good, the song. So, if the music that we're playing is a very equally, kind of chop, it has that feeling, then I'm gonna try to go with it as much as possible, as much to the best of my ability, my years of experience, my years of taking lessons, my years of practicing, my years of playing with good bands and bad bands, Hopefully some experience at playing this type of feeling or beat that I might be encountered with at the time, in a moment, Yeah. All beats are equal, but the 4th one is fun.
You used to play. I just wanted you were cracking me up and about Dave Torkanowski, Singleton, James Singleton, yourself getting a gig with Eddie Harris and Nat Adderley.
Yeah.
Can you tell that story of the rehearsal?
Yeah.
Because it's a gem.
James and David are really young. They're like maybe 21 years old or something. I don't know how old. They're young. I'm not maybe a year older. We were hired to be the backup rhythm section at Tyler's Beer Garden on Magazine Street, which was a great music club, and we worked there a lot with all kind of great people. Besides them, we worked there with, oh man, just like Dave Lehman and Randy Brecker, and the list goes on. Anyway, get back to the story. So we hired to, we backed up maybe Nat before, you know, but this gig they were gonna bring Nat in and bring in Eddie Harris, and we're gonna have, you know, that we're gonna play that. You're gonna play, all right, for several nights. And they decided, let's have a rehearsal, you know. So Nat flies in, and we're gonna have the rehearsal. We're having a rehearsal in David Torganowski's living room. At the time, he lived in a small shotgun house with no sheetrock on the walls, just the studs and the outer walls. In the front room was the size, you know, half of the size of this room. I don't know, 14 by 14, 12 by 12. It was small, bro. And he had a piano in it, and upright, I think, yeah, upright. And James had his bass, and I just had a bass drum and center drum and something, you know. And you know, Nat gets there. Eddie gets there, and Eddie just flew in, so he's eating yogurt and he's tired, you know. And you know, Nat, and they put their horns together, and we talking, and they say, okay, let's get some tunes together, you know. So they you know, they say, okay, this one. They said, no, and this is other things. Finally, after 20 minutes of them two and us three just sitting there, you know, with our mouths totally shut, you know, just watching the dynamic of these two guys go back and forth, and you know, messing with each other on another level, you know. And oh no, I don't want to do that. You know, blues. I don't want to do that. No. Okay, so finally they agree on Bye Bye Blackbird. Okay, so now they get out the horns and they get ready to count it off, and Eddie says to Nat, what key? Nat said, F. Eddie says, wait a minute, that's not the right key. The right key is B flat. You know, that's the original key they played it in. And Nat says, I don't care, we can play it in F. What's the difference? You know, you can play. Yeah, and Eddie said, I can play it in any key. I can play it in F sharp. I can play it in, you know, B, I can play it in any, E, I can play it in any key. But if you want to do it right, you got to do it. And Nat says, no, I'm going to play the melody with the music right away. I want to play with my cornet. This is the way I like. Eddie said, okay, all right. So, you know, by now, we kind of getting nervous, you know, because these two guys are just like, you know, arguing over stupid stuff. And then the next thing, Nat goes to count off the tune, and Eddie says, oh, wait a minute, that's not the right tempo. It should be, you know, and that's, no, you know, it can be done at any tempo. You know, you can do it fast, you can bop it up, or you can bop it that, boo, beat it, boo. You can do it anyway. And no, that ain't right. Oh, man, they're going back and forth. So, man, now the clock is going by, and we got to play that night, you know. I mean, here we are. Hey, baby. Still got air in it?
Yes.
Hi, Deborah.
Amazing. We had a flat tire. And so, you know, time goes by, and we've gone through like maybe 3 songs, you know, and they bickered about every little, you know, how we're going to end it, how we're going to, you know, the tempo's wrong, that ain't the right key, I want to play first, you play second, oh, no, you know, stuff like that. No, I mean, yeah, and boy, James and David, we all kind of just feeling so uncomfortable, man. And end of the rehearsal, we've gone through maybe 4 or 5 songs, you know, and we got to play 2 sets that night, you know. And we're going, oh, this is going to be a disaster, man. This is going to be a disaster, man. These 2 cats.
Wow.
You know.
Wow.
So,
They love each other, but they love
Here comes the gig.
Yeah.
We're up on the stage, and we're going, oh, man, you know, I get up behind drums. They get up on the stage like they're the brothers, like they knew each other for life. We never played anything we rehearsed, and they just played one tune after another. played so beautifully. The whole day was nothing. The daytime stuff was really nothing but a joke. You know, I mean, I think they were really putting us on, you know.
You think they were?
I mean,
Or
that's
is it
the
just
back of my mind. But they could. I think they were just putting each other on, and it was just, you know, it just made. We were so young, and they were, you know, accomplished jazz stars, older men, you know, and we were, you know, three little young cats gonna back them up, you know. And they loved the way we played. They never said anything about, you know, play this, play that, don't play this, don't do that. You know, so I mean, the joke was really, you know, just a funny thing. You know, but I never forget the look on David T's face and James's face. Man, I said, "Oh man, this ain't going good." But it turned out to be phenomenal.
Can you just riff on the brotherhood, the way things should be amongst your peers and younger cats as relates to teamwork as a group, and how the examples that how you were brought up, the brotherhood that you were brought up with?
Well, it seemed there was a competitive nature in the early stages of doing this, but I find that in comparison to other places, other cities, or, you know, big you know, big places in the world, I feel as though there's very much here a little bit more of a less competitive nature. A little bit. That's not the right English at all. A little bit more of the less. There's less of a competitive nature. There'll be some soap opera, you know, but I don't think anybody really, you know, has that characteristic in their personality, in their musical. They have it, but it's surely not a priority. You know, competing for this job, competing for this. It's as opposed to other places and other situations. You know, it's not. I guess there is certain aspects of the music racket in this town that have a very competitive nature. But as far as the guys that I play with, and 90% of my colleagues, 95% of my colleagues, in my relation with them is surely not a competitive one. I mean, I'm talking about all the drummers around here. It's not of a competitive nature at all. It's really more about fun that we have together. And sharing.
What is fun like? Maybe you need to describe with an example of having fun.
Just
instead of trying to take someone else's gig, or, you know, not work communally. I wonder.
Just like playing a moment, you know, and not playing with an aggressive edge that could possibly take away from the nature of the music at the moment, which you are obligated to be true to. I think that's my obligation as a musician, is to be true to the music of the moment that I'm in the people that I'm involved with, in order to make that music be sounding good and whole and healthy. Nothing like healthy music for people.
Your grandmother, can you riff on your grandma? And did she introduce you to? She was a pretty hip woman.
She was an immigrant from Sicily. She came from Palermo. My grandfather came from Trapani, and I lived with them and my mom and my uncle. and obviously my mom and everybody worked, and my grandmother worked a little bit, but she spent most of the time at home, and she didn't exactly, I wouldn't say, hey, be a drummer, but she sat me on the floor, with pots and pans and wooden spoons, and turned on the AM radio and let me have my phone while she took care of all her business, cooking and cleaning and dealing with the bread man. That's when they used to deliver bread to your house, and a coffee man who brought coffee to the house, and a milkman. She'd be ironing clothes and washing, and cooking, And so then when the time came, I got a little drum, and she encouraged me, to go ahead and play your drum. It doesn't bother me, because we had a long shotgun house. I could be in the front part of the house, and she usually spent her time in the back part of the house, by the kitchen and stuff, in the laundry room. And so, then came the time when I was about 12, and I got a set of drums and started taking drum lessons with a teacher, Charles Sewer, my man. And
he's still with us, right?
Yeah.
I gotta catch a hang with that guy.
Yeah. I think he's living in Mississippi,
right.
in either Hattiesburg or Jackson. I'm not sure. I got his number. And then when I got the drum set, and all that, my grandmother, I practiced all day. If I wasn't in school, and when I was in school, I practiced after school till my mom came home from work. Then I shut it down around 6. But my mom would always say, "Oh, all right, play something you learned on the drums today." So I sometimes I was lucky enough to get to play into the night, But my grandmother would always like to tell people that my grandmother was the kind of woman that if I knocked over a lamp and broke it, she would say, "Wow, that sounded wonderful. You're a genius." She's that kind of lady.
You are an artistic genius. I mean, here's the bottom line. Ron Tutt, when I interviewed him, was most humbled by reggae music. So much so that there was a warehouse in Houston. He took a bunch of Toots and the Maytals and all these reggae records home, and he really had to woodshed it because it was confounding to him. Was there a world style of music, or any style of music where you had to really shed?
Okay, as a young person, I shed it on the necessities, the basic things you had to learn. And the first thing I learned was trad music, traditional music, and then I started to learn rock and roll was popular, because my friends would all listen to it. We finally got a record player and
jumped the fence to go to the Beatles gig over there.
Yeah, well, by that time, yeah. By that time, I had a good working knowledge of the drum set. But anyway,
shedding.
Things just grew, from learning traditional music to playing rock and roll with all my friends and living a life and dancing, at CYOs and sock hops and all that stuff with live bands, and I go be checking out the drummer, and then playing either with a rock band, a rock and roll band, or a trad band, on a weekend a lot of times. And those guys introduced me to older guys who taught me more about listening to jazz and other kinds of funk. And life went on, and I got lucky in scholarships and stuff like that. And I had the joy of playing an array of music, not just one particular thing. Now, to get back to your question.
Yeah, well,
later in life, along came this popular thing called reggae.
Reggae, yeah.
Totally messed me up. So I did have to take every bit of 10 months and a guy named Jeff Latin, who lives in Puerto Rico. Bless his heart. Thank you, Jeff. I owe you a lot. And he helped me work with reggae. Just getting the beat and the feel right. Learning how learning what the one drop was all about. Even though they didn't call it the one drop back then around here, there are a few guys that could play it around here, but I was having a hard, even though I could play all this, even though I played with all kind of jazzers and rockers. This was not something, in my vocabulary of putting the bass drum on a backbeat like that, though. Even though I play a Texas shuffle like that with the bass drum on a backbeat, it's not the same thing, So I did have to spend every bit of a hard 10 months just getting the basic beat to feel right, And then after that, it moved along very quickly because then I started to see how I could apply, funk and jazz stuff.
But at that time,
just put the bass drum on the backbeat.
There was no way, there was no YouTube, so you had to go to connect with someone like this cat.
Yeah.
Right, it was
find a record
person to person. Well,
whatever record was available.
That's what I want you to talk about is your methodology. Like I saw Apache music in there in your record collection.
Was there some reggae stuff?
No, I just went off to Apache, Native American. I just saw that record.
Yeah, I have a lot of Native American stuff. As a matter of fact, I have like hours of recordings from some place up in New England, a famous.
Folkways Records.
It's a famous university, conservatory, and because in college I wrote some timpani. I wrote a timpani piece.
You did?
And I played on my senior recital. But anyway, the timpani piece was used by the American Native American Indian Foundation in Utah, Arizona, I think New Mexico, and Colorado. I don't know what, like a bunch of states as an educational film. So prior to writing that music, I was reading a lot about Native American history and listening to the music, and then I wrote this piece, played it on a recital, and donated it to the film industries to be for educational purposes in those 4 states out west. So that's why you saw that Native American stuff down there.
My question is for cats that are going to watch this when we're long gone. When you were studying an ethnic music or a native music like Native American music, how would you learn it? Would you first get direct lessons? How often would you practice to the records, and how would you learn music that was world music?
Different ways, different processes. I told you what I did in the case of reggae.
Absolutely.
I got with a dude. He wasn't even, Jeff was not like a fancy bass player working 7 nights a week, or he wasn't, he was just like kind of a, basic.
You're playing electric bass.
Yeah, of course, yeah, and he was just he just played basic funk, and but he knew about this reggae thing.
Before I let you go,
and the Native American stuff, I didn't learn to play it. I just listened to it over and over to let it wash over me, and read the history so I would try to absorb the spirit.
Did that start at your grandmother's house?
No, that was when I graduated from college.
For those out there that don't know Astral Project, it's
73 or 4.
Astral Project is in the same discussion as Weather Report and Return to Forever, and Mahavishnu as well. They were so localized. You're playing tomorrow night, and I just wanted you to talk a little bit about. You guys actually shared a bill with Wayne and Herbie in a duo. They were playing duo opposite Astral.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you talk about that band? Where it stands?
The time I remember, I think we were in upstate New York, and it was outdoors, and I think we played before them. And I just remember sitting in the grass, and I know over there you could see where Jimi Hendrix and them played, and down here was the stage.
I dig. They were
like out the box.